Hi, today I will continue with Paul Sails to Rome, Part 2, Acts 27. About midnight on the 14th night of the storm, as we were being driven across the Sea of Adria, the sailors sensed land was near. They dropped a weighted line and found that the water was at 120 feet deep. But a little later, they measured again and found it was only 90 feet deep. At this rate, they were afraid we would soon be driven against the rocks along the shore. So they threw out 4 anchors from the back of the ship and prayed for daylight. Then the sailors tried to abandon the ship. They lowered the lifeboat as though they were going to put out anchors from the front of the ship. But Paul said to the commanding officer and soldiers, "You will all die unless the sailors stay aboard." So the soldiers cut the ropes to the lifeboat and let it drift away. Just as day was dawning, Paul urged everyone to eat. "You have been so worried that you haven't touched food for 2 weeks," he said. "Please eat something now for your own good, for not a hair on your heads will perish." Then he took some bread, gave thanks to God before them all, and broke off a piece and ate it. Then everyone was encouraged and began to eat. All 276 of us who were on board. After eating, the crew lightened the ship further by throwing the cargo of wheat overboard. When the morning dawned, they didn't recognize the coastline, but they saw a bay with a beach and wondered if they could get to shore by running the ship aground. So they cut off the anchors and left them in the sea. Then they lowered the rudders, raised the foresail, and headed toward shore. But they hit a shoal and ran the ship aground too soon. The bow of the ship struck fast, while the stern was repeatedly smashed by the force of the waves and began to break apart. The soldiers wanted to kill the prisoners to make sure they didn't swim ashore and escape, but the commanding officer wanted to spare Paul, so he didn't let them carry out their plan. Then he ordered all who could swim to jump overboard first and make for land. The others held on to planks or debris from the broken ship, so everyone escaped safely to shore. Today I will continue with Paul's journey to Rome by Greek sailboat. If you listen to part 1, the captain and the owner did not follow Paul's warnings and directions, which was God's directions. They thought they knew better. Well, they were wrong. And their error in judgment caused them to end up in a very bad 14-day storm. In Acts 27, verse 10, he said, "I believe there is trouble ahead if we go on. Shipwreck, loss of cargo, and danger to our lives as well." But because they went their own way, they ended up losing everything, including the ship. Those who couldn't swim floated to an island hanging on the boards and debris from the broken ship. Now, this is a picture of what happens when somebody thinks they know better than God. They go their own way and then they wonder why everything goes so wrong. I have a confession to make. Just last night and very early this morning, I found out how God could take me way deeper into my relationship with Him. And now I understand this concept much better. I promise you that you would never regret having a very close relationship with Jesus Christ, because then your relationship with your Father in heaven is so deep and fulfilling. I never knew I could know him and know his love so much. I mean, I pray for it, but I truly believe it is my obedience that did it. It is better than I ever imagined it could be. My God, my faithful and graceful God. So everyone made it out of the ship alive, just like Paul predicted. So even though they did what they wanted to do, God saved them all. What I found out is God is truly merciful. My God. I know I have gone through things that nobody even knows for the sake of the gospel, but my God is so gracious and merciful, it astounds me. Lamentations 3 verse 23 in the NLT. Great is his faithfulness, his mercies begin afresh each morning. 25, the Lord is good to those who depend on him, to those who search for him. I have found this to be true personally. I couldn't begin to tell you how good he is. He continues to astound me. Now, what does this mean? To shock or amaze someone with something, amazed or astonished. Well, I don't believe I can convey the severity of it. You really have to experience it for yourself. That is why it's called a personal relationship. It is very personal. You should try it. You would not regret it. My God. Thank you for listening today. We are blessed indeed. Praise God.